okay, well, here are the three ways that you can make money. And again, that's, Kickstarter, um, or crowdfunding publishers, and then also building that social media army. And that third one is more of a long-term goal as opposed to, a quick pop of cash.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And one thing I want to point out real quick here is what Thomas just outlined, and it's been discussed here on the show before with other guests too. Play to your strengths. Like,
Exactly.
don't try to do
Exactly.
everything, especially if you know you're not that good at it, and maybe you want to learn it eventually. But is that the right time to do it now? No.
Right, right.
Play to your
Right,
strengths.
exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Sweet. All right. Well, okay. Earlier you mentioned about just people might being afraid of like putting themselves out there. And let's say we get people that they're sharing screenshots or video clips and all sorts of communities, but they're still not getting much traction. What's a good mindset to have when this happens, and how people can kind of overcome this initial hurdle?
Okay. So just to clarify, the initial hurdle is no matter what platform, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or just building an email list, people are struggling to getting noticed at all. Is that what your question is?
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, the first tip is to go for the shotgun approach. And the shotgun approach is blast out as much kind of content as possible. It's videos of you talking to a camera. It's screen captures of your game. It's screenshots. Maybe it's quotes. Maybe it's memes, and it's sort of related to your game. Um, and what I would do with the shotgun approach is shotgun on every single platform as much as you can. Now, obviously, this takes time away from your development, so it's really up to you guys to figure out how you're going to spend your time on this. But I recommend posting daily, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not hard. And it's actually so hard for me that I had to hire somebody to do that for me. So I have somebody handling content creation and pumping it out. After about a month or two of pumping out this content, we'll dig into the analytics, see what's working, what's not, and then we'll funnel down slowly again to the 20%.
Yep.
What's that 20% of the content that's working for you? A lot of people though, and this is the second tip. The second tip is, for God's sake, you need to be posting for a year before you ever feel like you're gaining traction.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unfortunate and weird because I'm sitting here thinking about, well, wouldn't these tech companies want us to be motivated to post immediately? I downloaded this app. I can't remember what it's called. I downloaded this recent app that's supposed to be like a competitor for TikTok because it's always good. It's always a good idea to get on these platforms early, and you post content or you join and you get nothing. You get no response, and so I do wonder why the tech companies don't motivate new users a little bit more and give them, I don't know, give them some motivation, give them a few
Yeah.
followers, or the algorithm maybe can help them.
I think
But
that's.
ultimate,
I was just to say. I think TikTok took that strategy, actually, what you're just talking about, because like
hmm
for new early adapters or whatever, they were rewarding them with basically results and things like that.
yes, yes. And when you jump on Twitter or YouTube, it's really, really hard to get traction. But I was talking to someone I'm mentoring right now, who's starting a YouTube channel. I said you need to have, what can I call it? The two Let's just call it the 2 year mentality. That sounds like a cool word. So the 2 year mentality is you're not going to get results for 2 years. Like good results, like maybe hit 15 to 40,000 subscribers. It's going to take you 2 years. And this comes back to our Las Vegas, like going and playing slots, metaphor. Are you willing to sacrifice that time and that effort? Because you got to be in this for the long haul. Um, I'm of the opinion that if somebody there are two things that will get anybody anywhere that they want to go. Generally, this is a rule of thumb. This isn't a promise. The first one is fortitude. You consistently post every day for a year, and you get zero likes. But wait, you got one like, and then all of a sudden it was two, and then it's four, and then six. And so that fortitude leads to hopefully exponential growth. So if you're seeing growth, if you're seeing a certain amount of likes, a certain amount of shares, and ultimately for me personally, the end goal is, am I getting people to subscribe to my email list through those posts? If you're seeing that, good for you. So the first one is fortitude, just pushing, 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 and not really giving up, you know.
Yeah.
Because certain people they'll post content and they'll be on their fifth post and they're like, Thomas, I'm not seeing any growth, and I'm like, yeah, well, no, duh. It
Yep.
takes a long time to get where you need to go, and I hate to be so brash, but like that's the way it works. And that, you know, the people who are now, some people who are really successful on social media, they did get lucky. You know, they got on the platform early or whatever.
Right.
Now, the second trait that it takes is humility. Humility is one of the most important. It's a weird one because you would think a lot of these people who are super successful on social media are like a bunch of cocky bastards. But I actually am of the opinion the more I'm growing in the influencer space, it requires a ton of humility. You need to be willing to take, hey, maybe humility is not a good word. Maybe it's humiliation. You need to be willing to get a lot of hate. You need to be willing to get people saying you're totally wrong. Because the truth is if you're honest, and this is something we should all be doing, if you're really honest in your social media posts, you're probably in the long run going to get a bigger following. But it also means you're probably going to get more dislikes and more hate from people who dislike you. So humility, it works in two ways. The first way is you're willing to be humiliated because you don't see yourself as a god. You see yourself as just a silly person posting content, and that's okay. And if people don't like what I'm posting, no big deal. It's okay. I don't mind being humiliated. But the other aspect of humility that's really important when you're posting on social media is when you post content and it doesn't perform, you don't go, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm not doing this anymore. I hate myself. I thought I was better than this, or I'm embarrassed, or how dare the world not like my content. So instead of thinking that way, you need to be humble and go, of course I don't know what I'm doing. Now, let's look at the analytics and see what I can do better next time. Maybe read some stuff, maybe take an online course about social media and go from there.
Yeah. No, this is like super smart way to approach it and everything else, because you're absolutely right. I think a lot of times people, when they approach things, to put it simply, they take it personally sometimes, and
Yeah.
you really can't. So again, like looking back at to those analytics, and letting like the data kind of support your decisions moving forward is going to be really helpful. But just to point out one more thing that while you were talking there, and it just goes back to our initial kickoff, question and topic. It takes time to do this. And from your analogies that you provided, be ready to keep walking in the dark, like slowly too. Like this whole process, this consistency, and, as you were saying, to build up things so you can create some awareness. It could take 1 to 2 years. And
Yeah.
again, it takes time. So if it's not working now, and perfect example, by the way, it's like nothing. I got a like. It's one more than yesterday, and then you keep moving forward, and now I got my email address, and boom. And you know what? I a couple episodes ago we released our transparency episode and launch of season 2, and we shared that same thing. It started out so small, and it's been going for years now, and we're still slowly growing, but we're still making progress.
Yeah.
Like it's the same with anything.
It is. But I'm also one of those people who I believe there is a time to quit. So one of my metrics for when you should quit is, let's say after a year of posting content and you've only seen static growth, you haven't seen exponential growth.
Good way to.
That's when I go, okay, something's off here. Because technically, or theoretically, that's a better word. Theoretically, you should be seeing exponential growth. You should have 100 subscribers in 2 months, and then 300, and then 700, and then 1,500. You should be seeing exponential growth. If you're seeing static growth, it's like, well, is it just because you're just pushing? and people are kind of just barely interested. And maybe it's not that you need to quit with posting content about your game. Maybe it's that you need to tweak the content
Right.
and fine tune it.
Or even potentially
Um,
pivot.
Pivot, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, and I'm in the middle of a pivot right now because like my whole YouTube channel was all about posting dedicated uploads. So like once every 2 weeks, I would post a dedicated upload about game development.
Yeah.
I'm learning that my audience really likes me to just sit and ramble. They just want to hear me sit and ramble during live streams. Like the engagement is great. And so I'm like, wait a second. And so I'm doing a major pivot right now where I'm like, do you guys really want to sit and just watch me ramble while I make games? And I think that's what they want.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try it out and it seems to be working. I just got a message from YouTube that says that my engagement is up or my I think it's my engagement or my viewership is up 55% from last month. And that's just because I sit for
Yeah.
3 hours and just ramble and make games. It's very interesting. And I had no idea that this is what I should be doing. But it's about just that guess and check mentality, that shotgun approach.
Yeah. And not only that, when you talk about analytics, here's another way to view it. They're like the analytics, the data to back those decisions. But those decisions too, it's not just from data. It's also basically it comes down to you're finding ways to better serve your audience.
Yep. Yep. Hey, and that's so important. In the end, you and I and developers. I hate to say it, but we really need to be serving our customers and providing value to them.
Exactly.
And that's, dude, even that's what a Twitch streamer's doing.
Yeah.
A Twitch streamer isn't just some silly person sitting and talking and not actually providing value. Those people, their audience, they show up for a reason every day. They're receiving value from the Twitch streamers. So that's really important to keep in mind. Provide value. You should be providing more value to your customers than you think is fair.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the people who receive that reciprocity from you, I think that's the word, they'll return the favor when you're ready to launch a game.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll respect you for it.
They will.
All right. Well, I want to ask one more question here before we start closing. And it's relating to, the right time to go, full dev. Now, we kind of covered a lot of that actually already in terms of the things you can be doing, those 3 steps to getting money to fund the project and moving forward. So let's say you're getting money coming in, you're doing all these things fine, but initially taking that leap into full-time dev, once you get there, it can be a really empowering experience and may create what I'm calling here passion override at first, right? You're like, oh, I'm super empowered. I got this going for me. And you go into like full overload on just maybe like tunnel vision, right? So to help prevent this or potential setbacks that could come up with this, what I describe as passion override, what are some things devs should keep a pulse on while focused on making and creating awareness for their game?
It's an interesting question. So clarify for me when you say pulse over or the override thing.
Yeah,
Can you clarify specifically what the problem is there?
So let's say I'm doing this. I'm full time now, and I'm getting tunnel vision, focusing on maybe things that you're getting distracted by working specifically on certain things and not keeping a pulse on your whole business, so to speak. Let's say you're spending money real fast because you have motivation and you're making a lot of progress with things, but you're not necessarily keeping a pulse on the whole entire business. You're looking at the project, not the business.
Yeah. Get married and have kids.
That will definitely help. I agree.
So for those of you who are dating, knock up your girlfriend. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, though, when you've got dependents, you don't have time to dick around. And you don't have time to make all these crazy risky moves where you're super excited. So obviously, not everybody can even wants to have dependents. So obviously, I'm joking here. But what's at the root there is when there are stakes, when there are stakes associated with your decision to go full-time game dev, you treat it with reverence. It's interesting. There's this if anyone's ever grown